So I woke up today with this very strange thought that I remembered, and I remember War Thunder leakers, reliable leakers by the way, talking about how Gaijin is internally testing the R-77 and the Aim-120 AAMRAM. And this basically sparked my interest because we're expecting the Gripen C next patch, and it's not also the Gripen A, which is something contradictory to War Thunder when they are bringing in planes. As you've seen, they've always tried to include the A variant first, then blah blah blah. And this had me thinking, what if we could actually get the F-15 next patch? I mean, it's not a very strange thought, and it is actually a pretty interesting thought to, well, discuss. And as I was researching the subject, I talked to the F-15 guru of the War Thunder community, that's General Lee. And I asked him, hey, could the F-15A come in with MRAMs? And he told me, yeah, but the C would make more sense since the F-15A got MRAMs later on, but the C got them, I guess, by default. And this makes sense because the F-15C doesn't differ a lot from the F-15A in terms of flight performance. As an example, the radar that was equipped on the F-15A was the APG-63, while the one that is equipped on the F-15C is the APG-63V1 radar. But later versions of the F-15C also equipped the even more advanced APG-70 radar, but let's stick to the 63 since that's the initial upgrade. What does this mean in terms of War Thunder? Well, you're literally just going to get a radar to use, and that's about it. Like an actual good usable radar. And the beautiful thing about the F-15, I'm sorry, is it has a big radar since the plane itself is big, so you can expect much better clarity when it comes to scanning and much better tracking when it comes to people trying to notch your radar log. The F-15C compared to the A got improved electrical warfare systems, cockpit and avionic upgrades, combat performance, in the sense that the C became a platform for testing and integrating advanced air-to-air missile systems like, well, the AMRAM, and basically just slight upgrades here and there just to tune in the performance of the aircraft. The F-15C, also compared to the A, was designed with a little bit more room for thought for future upgrades, basically future-proofing the plane, allowing it to adapt to evolving threats and technology, which made, well, the F-15 one of the best fighters that America has ever produced, ever. The F-22 is way better, of course, but the F-22 is on its own different league, so we don't talk about that right now. So as a recap, when it comes to the upgrades between the A and the C variant of the F-15, in layman's terms, in just very simple words, imagine it being the upgrade between the MiG-29 912 and the 913. Almost unnoticeable upgrades, but in real life, I guess that matters. In War Thunder, well, basically won't. So fun fact here, believe it or not, the F-15 sprouted, like the F-15 idea sprouted because the Americans saw that the MiG-25 was introduced to the Russians and they thought that the MiG-25 is going to be this absolute massive threat, and turns out that the MiG-25 is actually terrible, and out of that fear, America basically made the F-15. So with that mentality in mind, the F-15 actually was designed with the specific purpose that it's going to be this insane air-to-air fighter that just meets expectations on every single level. I'm talking about close-range dogfight, I'm talking about BVR, I'm talking about every single box that you can tick for air-to-air combat. And this is present, of course, you can see it. I mean, the plane equips AIM-9Ls, AIM-9Ms, hell, even AIM-9Js, and it equips radar-guided missiles like the AIM-7s, and of course your, well, unique AMRAM that everybody wants to counter the MiG-29. I don't know why they want to counter the MiG-29. Gaijin nerfed it to the ground. It's not even usable at this point. But a lot of people would disagree with my statement right here, but that's the world. People disagree with each other, agree with each other. It is what it is. So when it comes to the speed and altitude of the plane itself, and remember that thought of intercepting the MiG, or not intercepting, going against the MiG-25, which was Mach 3 capable, basically generated this type of performance where speed and altitude and maneuverability at the same time were like needed to happen simultaneously. So when it comes to the F-15C itself, it dominated, or it excelled even, at speed and altitude to be specific. The twin pillars of aerial dominance. With a top speed of Mach 2.5, basically the plane is absolutely insane when it comes to top speed. It even beats the F-16, and I'm going to compare it to the F-16 a little bit, and why. Because a lot of people say, hey, the F-16 is going to be the same as the F-15, both have missiles, blah, 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 but it's really not. But going back to the subject of the F-15 itself, the F-15 has a max altitude, a capability of going up to a max altitude of like 20 kilometers, which is impressive, by the way. Like in War Thunder, you just fly 20 kilometers and you're like, eh. In real life, at that altitude, there is no oxygen. Or if there is, it's going to be so little. And the capability of you freezing to death, which was actually enough to climb and intercept a MiG-25 and basically lob a missile towards that plane. And because of the MiG-25 being a brick, or any plane at that altitude and at that speed being a brick, since there isn't too much air for the aircraft to use, so it can maneuver, it's going to be a 100% kill. Well, the F-15C also included an arsenal to use in a ground RB if it gets introduced to War Thunder, and I couldn't find much, to be fairly honest, but I know that the plane can equip dumb bombs and dumb rockets on it. But when it comes to GPUs, like, there is a plus and a minus. When it comes to the GPUs, the plane doesn't seem to have a teapot, but it can utilize GPUs. So this draws us to the conclusion that, well, the F-15's GPUs needed a laser signal from the ground troops so they can drop them from high altitude and so on and so forth. So when it comes to that specific type of knowledge, I really am not sure, but I also am not sure about the Mavericks, since the F-15E operates them, but I didn't find anything about the F-16 or the F-15C operating Mavericks. So if or when the F-15C or the F-15 itself gets added to the American tech tree, it's going to be like the MiG-29 of the Russian tech tree. Basically, it's going to be an air-to-air platform mainly, whereas the F-16Cs right now that we have in game, the models from 2005 or 2006, basically those are going to be the dominant CAS planes for USA. So ultimately, when it comes to the comparison between the F-16C or the F-16s versus the F-15s, the F-15s will dominate anything in basically a raid fight, not slow speed fights, as the F-16 would win at that. So that gives you kind of a comparison point for you to go through or go with. But the F-15 would win in every single BVR, capability and just everything, dude. Which leads me to my final question. Here's the thing, dude. If the Gripen C comes in next patch and the F-15C comes with it, wouldn't the Gripen C be DOA on launch? Well, I'll leave that question for you, so you can answer in the comments down below.